Start here, January 23rd, 2023. Great to be with all of you today. It's Monday morning. I'm going to share my screen with you right now, and you can see here that over here on the futures chart, we can see the futures are up a little bit this morning. Volatility is down slightly from earlier this morning. We see the VIX futures are down, but the VIX cash is a little bit. The VIX cash is trying to catch up to the futures here. We have about 7 more trading days to the end of the month, and so far January is looking pretty strong after a weak month of December. We have a big earnings week coming up, and big. I'm telling you, it's as big as it's been. So we did have the earnings from banks come out a couple of weeks ago. We had names like Netflix came out last week, which were fairly good, came out pretty strong. And then later this week, we'll have names like Las Vegas Sands, which have my eye. ASML is going to be coming out along with competitor Lam Research. We also have United Rentals, which is a name that we have in the Action Motors Plus. That's URI, Visa, MasterCard, which is also in the AAP. And a name that I have liked here for a while. It came down sharply last year, but now it's really making a nice comeback here. One that I'm going to show you the chart of is HCA, Hospital Corporation of America, and along with several energy names like Valero and let's see what else is coming out here. We have Murphy Oil and Chevron coming out at the end of the week, and I believe ExxonMobil. So Boeing, IBM, of course, a couple of Dow names are going to be coming out today, along with Microsoft. Lockheed Martin is going to be coming out, General Electric. So we have a lot of names, a lot of different groups that are going to be coming out here, reporting their earnings from fourth quarter. Later on this week, we'll have the first GDP print for fourth quarter. I think a lot of estimates are coming in at around anywhere from 3.5% on the low end to about 4.1% on the high end. So that would put the 2022 total GDP up into a positive territory after being negative for the first half of 2022. Everybody remembers that, right? We were actually in a technical recession in the first half of 2022, right, with 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. So that seems to have turned around a little bit here, but lots of speculation of whether we're going to be in a recession at all in 2023. I think at best, most people are saying that we'll dip in the second half of 2023 due to the fact that earnings are probably going to be coming in a little bit softer, and with the higher interest rates that the Fed is going to be keeping in place for longer. Remember, higher for longer has been the theme from the Fed. Now, of course, we won't hear anything from them until the Fed meeting comes out in the beginning of February. Of course, there are going to be some Fed speakers out this week. And I think they will be going into their quiet period next week, possibly, or even starting towards the end of this week. So we won't be hearing too much from them. But early part of the week, we do have some Fed speakers coming out as well. So this is going to be a very interesting time, very interesting week. Again, 7 trading days left to the end of January. We have some names on the board here that have my interest. Again, Apple. Up a little bit this morning here. You can see that Tesla's up a couple of dollars. We also have the CME, which has been pounded lately. It's kind of got my eye for at least a bit of a long-term pickup. Speaking of long-term, don't forget, tomorrow night, January 24th, tomorrow night after the close is going to be our annual LEAPS webinar, LEAPS, the LEAPS webinar, long-term appreciation instruments. So I'll explain what these instruments are, how to use these things, and we'll put out some trade ideas for 23. We'll review the names that we covered last year. It is the most popular webinar that I have every single year. It's a packed house. So the link for sign up has been sent out on social media. So look for that if you're in the chat room. I'll be putting in the link for the webinar several times over the next several hours and into tomorrow. So look for that. It's a very important webinar. I think you're going to learn a lot. It's free to attend, of course. So get your butts in the seats, and we'll see you there tomorrow. And then finally, I did want to talk about the S&P 500 chart for a little bit. Oh, I did say I want to mention the HCA chart. So look at this weekly chart here on the HCA. So we had a huge year in 2021, right? Big year. The last year was kind of we didn't do much at all. We had a lot of movement, but overall we didn't have any movement. We got clobbered here in the early part of the year, hit the 200-week moving average, literally just tagged it right there in the summertime, and have been making higher highs, higher lows. They come out with earnings on Friday morning, and I think we could get a good move on this stock. I'm more inclined to wait until after earnings to see what it does, but this stock has a tendency to jump big post earnings, up or down. So again, this is one that I have my eye on. Again, I did mention as well, ASM lithography, ASML is one. It's had a really good couple of weeks here. It jumped over that 100-week moving average, but let's drill down to the daily chart here. This one here, it pulled back a little bit last week on some fairly good volume, and it made an inside day here on Friday. So I'm kind of curious to see what it does over here. Again, this is another name that reports earnings later this week that I'm going to want to wait and see how the stock does after earnings. And then Las Vegas Sands has been a super strong chart since the middle of October. Let's look at that thing. That thing's been up about 80%. Since the middle of October. It based here at around the $34, $35 level, and finally got some energy in November, followed through in December, and then it's continued on here. Overbought, of course. Again, another name that's going to have earnings coming out, and I think we would probably err on the side of caution here when it comes to earnings reports this week and next week. Next week's obviously going to be a huge week. With Apple coming out, with Alphabet coming out, I believe Meta and Amazon. So a lot of the big names that are going to be delivering earnings next week. I think it's probably a good time to just step back and watch the reaction, see how things go. According to my some things that I've been reading as well too, we could be facing a top later on this week of the markets. Again, that's a timing tool that I don't really pay attention to, but some people do, so you really have to just acknowledge it. And then finally, taking a look at names like in the small cap area. Now, the small caps have been fairly strong over here. I've been more sanguine on these names, but we did have a big strong finish on Friday, and we're going to see where that goes. If we do break this 200-day moving average though to the downside, before we hit the 20-day moving average, I think we've got some downside to go, possibly down to the mid 170s, about 175 or so. That'd be about $10 to the downside. So I think right now, sentiment wise, everyone seems to be getting more and more bullish and bulled up here, and that presents a problem, right? Because we really don't know where Fed policy is going, other than what they've said, that they're going to keep going with rate hikes up to 5%, possibly even higher than that. How is the market going to handle that higher interest rates, right? And we do know that inflation seems to be coming down. We've had a couple of reports in a row on the PPI and the CPI. We haven't seen the personal consumption expenditures yet. That's going to be coming out soon. So the jury's out on it right now. And I think at this point in time, we call this like an inflection point. Are we at an inflection point right now where things can turn from negative to positive, right? We saw earlier in the week last week and then late last week that good news was bad news, right? So now, I mean, maybe this week good news will be good news. So I think it's important to just take things one step at a time, one day at a time, one trade at a time, and not try and make any big macro calls on what the markets could do or should do. Remember something, we don't tell the markets what to do. We pay attention to what they're doing and then react and respond to it accordingly. All right. So that's going to be it, everyone. Again, I apologize for being running a little bit late over here. I had a couple of technical issues here, but we're back to it. And I want to wish my big brother Michael a very happy birthday. He turns 59 today. I don't think he's watching, but happy birthday anyway. And I will see you guys back all on Thursday morning, bright and early. Have a great day, and I'll hopefully see you guys all in the webinar tomorrow afternoon. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.